welcome to the DCSC podcast. My name is Chris Maddox, and I am your host.
And my name is Emilee Book, and I will be your co-host this evening.
So we are starting this podcast as a way to communicate things to people that are connected to the camp, people that want to become more informed about things going on at the camp, and really just to get people excited about Delmarva Christian Service Camp in general.
Woo!
So we're gonna be coming to you every couple weeks with a new podcast, a new episode, again to bring new information if there is any, to get you excited about things that are coming up, as well as to continue to introduce you to us as hosts and let you in on our weird lives and how we are as friends and people. So real quick, before we jump into the rest of what this podcast will look like, let's go ahead and introduce each other and get to know a little bit more about each other. Emilee, would you like to go first?
Sure.
You said that with a lot of confidence.
Yes, I would. Let's do it. I'll go first.
All right, go ahead.
Hello, my name is Emilee Book. For those of you who do not know me, I was here 2 years ago. I was here the summer in 2019. Definitely not 2020. 2019 I was here June through August. I worked at the camp. I was a lifeguard lady. That's what a lot of the campers called me. So I was a lifeguard. I was also working at the camp, doing my best work, helping around the facility and things like that. Very family oriented. I love camp ministry. That is probably one of my favorite ways to serve. Just be connected is camp. So very happy to be talking about something that's so close to my heart, and very happy to be here with my good friend Chris Maddox. Chris.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Did you say where you're from?
Oh, I'm from Orlando. Well, Kissimmee. I'm from Kissimmee, Florida. Not Kissimmee. A lot of people say it wrong. It's Kissimmee, Florida. You don't need to look it up. It's not that special, but that's where I'm from.
Okay, very good.
Great.
Cool, awesome. Well, my name is Chris Maddox, for those of you who may not know me. I am from Seaford, Delaware. I was born and raised here on the shore for the most part. I did spend a little bit of time over in the Baltimore area, as well as spent some time down in Kissimmee, Florida, when I went off to college with my then fiance, now wife, Tabitha. We went down to go to school at Florida Christian College, which is now Johnson University, Florida. And so when we graduated, we moved home, and then a couple years ago we moved to Delaware to be a little more involved and a little more available for the camp. So now I serve as the Dean of Mad Week, which is one of our high school weeks of camp. I serve as the camp manager, and I also now serve as the president of the board of directors. So we've gotten very involved, also very active in what's going on with the camp ministry, and different things going on there. So we wanted to bring you this podcast, like I said a minute ago, as a way to communicate information and as well as just have some fun. So as a part of having some fun and getting to know us, your hosts, I'm going to ask both of us a question that we're going to answer that we were discussing earlier, and have some fun here. So Emilee, if you could only eat one food for the rest of your life,
yes,
what would it be and why?
This is so tough just because I love food so much, but one food item would have to be potatoes. There are so many different ways to make them. You have your baked potatoes, your French fries, your tater tots, hash browns.
Sweet potatoes.
Sweet potato. Yeah, I didn't mention it because I don't like them. But you're right. Yeah, that is an option.
I like sweet potatoes.
Well, you can have mine.
Okay.
All right, so there are just so many the opportunities, and they're just endless for the potato family, So health-wise, not so great, but taste-wise...
Well, if health wasn't a factor.
So, yes.
Yeah. Well, again, if health wasn't a factor and money was no object, I would probably take it a step further, because I don't know that I could narrow it down to like one food item.
Yes.
Or one specific type of meal. But I think I would be able to narrow it down maybe to one restaurant.
A restaurant.
And it's one that you and I frequented quite a bit when we worked at this restaurant. So I think.
Let me channel your. See if we can,
oh yeah.
Let's see if we can guess.
1, 2, 3.
Chick-fil-A.
Chick-fil-A.
Oh my
Good job.
gosh.
I thought you were gonna say Zaxby's, which we never worked there. But
No, we didn't.
But yes, Chick-fil-A.
Right.
So I love Chick-fil-A food. Emilee and I both worked at a couple different Chick-fil-A's. I've worked at a few up here in the northern area as well as down in Florida. But we've spent quite a bit of time eating some of the Lord's chicken.
That is the Lord's chicken.
Amen.
They take care of
Amen.
those chickens.
And I don't know about you, Emilee, but I used to get really sick of the same thing.
Every
You
day.
know, because we go around the menu a few
Oh,
times,
yeah.
right? Like, I would eat nuggets for like 2 or 3 weeks straight, and then I would switch it up with, I'd go back to the chicken sandwich, the
Yeah.
classic, right? And then I'd get a little creative.
Oof.
So what would you say was your most creative food item to hack the Chick-fil-A menu?
Well, there's a couple options.
Yeah?
It's a super simple option. They got rid of the spicy chicken biscuit
Right.
for breakfast,
Right.
and I was super
They
distraught.
didn't in Maryland.
They didn't?
Nope.
We gotta go to
You can
Maryland.
still get to the spicy chicken biscuit.
I know what we're doing tomorrow morning.
We're driving all the way to Maryland?
No, I'm just kidding. I'll do that on my own time.
Okay.
So, you order a spicy chicken fillet
Right.
for lunch, and you just stick it on a biscuit.
Sure.
Okay, but that's not very creative. So what I would like to do for maybe a lunch item is you take your fries, you put your layer of fries.
Yeah.
You take maybe nuggets, and then you break up the nuggets.
Mm-hmm.
You order a side of bacon for the club.
Mm-hmm.
Bacon
Yep.
on that, and then cheese. Add the shredded cheese that they
Sure.
make for the salads. Ask them to put it in the. Well, I mean, I didn't need to ask because I worked there. You put
Right.
it in the oven, and then you have loaded cheese fries.
Right.
Dip it in ranch and buffalo sauce, and you are good to go.
So, fun fact, you can get all those food items and make that here, but you don't have to have them put it in the oven for you, because you can actually get cheese sauce in the Delaware market. Yeah. And just drizzle it on there. It's pretty good. I highly recommend putting the shredded cheese on there as well, just add some more flavor. But, well, I appreciate that. That's a great option as a Chick-fil-A menu hack. My Chick-fil-A hack that I prefer was either the chicken quesadilla,
Oh, that's a good option.
which is a good option,
That's a really good one.
especially a hearty option. But if you're trying to stick to just the protein, or you like a lot of flavor, I would take chicken nuggets and I'd put them in a salad bowl, and I would take a apple cider vinaigrette dressing and drizzle it on there, and then shake them up. You remember the old McDonald's Shake-ems?
Those
I would
Caesar
shake
salad
them up
kits, you shake it up.
and get all the
Yep.
dressing all coated on there, and then I would just eat them. And it was so good because that like sweet and tangy. I know it sounds weird.
You know, a good friend once told me, "Don't yuck someone else's yum."
I like that.
So that's
good.
yummy to you. So I won't say that that's gross, but
I appreciate that. I really also like that. Don't yuck someone else's yum.
yep.
Okay, I'm gonna remember that one.
Remember it.
Okay, I like that one a lot. Okay, well, we're going to get to some more fun introductory things about Emilee and I as we move through these podcast episodes. We might even have a couple more explorational questions here in this episode, but let's go ahead and move on. We're gonna let you know a little bit more about what some of the upcoming segments you can expect to hear about on this podcast. So first of all, as I mentioned in the introduction, we are going to be talking about camp updates, information that comes out and then gets to that we need to get to you, so you're informed about things that are coming up and that are happening this coming season. And then we also want to make sure we are keeping things in the forefront, information that you might not otherwise find out unless you are on our Facebook page or you're on an email list or you see a flyer. And so we don't want information to only come across in print or in typed word. Like, we want it to be fun and engaging and relevant. And so we're going to do whatever we can to make sure that the information that you're getting is fun and spectacular. And that's one of the things that we want to do with this podcast. So we'll bring you updates, things from the board of directors, things that I think the most relevant one right now is obviously we don't know what's really going to happen with COVID-19.
Yeah.
Last season we had to cancel 2020, which was unprecedented for the camp. I don't think we've ever canceled a year, at least not in my history with the camp. And I've been going to camp and being a part of camp for 30 years. And so I can't ever remember us canceling an entire season.
Right.
So with COVID and coronavirus, we have no idea what the state of Delaware and our nation, what we're going to look like come May and June of 2021. And so if we find ourselves in a similar boat, or we find ourselves needing to communicate what restrictions look like or guidelines look like, this will be an area that we definitely want to communicate that clearly, and in a fun way. We'll get a little zany maybe, but I will say right now, this is a official camp update. I'll say this: the deans are preparing for camp 2021 as if there will not be coronavirus restrictions. That's not to say that as we get closer, we won't take into consideration where we are as a community and as a state, and say, okay, well, things are maybe looking better, but maybe we do need to implement some care with what we're doing. But right now, we're hoping that things can operate as they've always operated. So at this juncture, we don't want to waste time preparing for something that might change. We might get more strict on. We might get less strict on.
Right.
So we're gonna hold off on the planning of restrictions until we get a little closer to see what everything's gonna look like. But rest assured, we are preparing for 2021.
Yeah, we're super optimistic.
Yeah.
Super optimistic too.
I like optimistic too.
I do too.
That's a great word.
I like them both. One's a word, one's not a word. We are super optimistic.
Maybe one day
about this camp season. We're looking forward to it, and like Chris said, we can't predict the future, but we are going into this camp season with high hopes and high spirits. The Lord can do anything, so we are just hoping that camp happens, and we're trying to plan for that happening this season.
Absolutely. Emilee, why don't you go ahead and tell our listeners and our viewers about our next two segments that we're going to be doing.
Sure. So Chris touched on different updates that are going to be going on through this podcast. We've got Meet the Deans, so we will have the deans for the summer camp on our podcast, so you'll get to know them a little bit better. We'll have questions for them, but we also have a segment called Meet the Preacher, which will be different preachers in the area. I know of a couple of preachers, but I think it'll be good to have them on just so we can be, aware of just things that they are talking about in their churches, and things that they want to make us aware of, just different conversation pieces that we can talk to them about. And then we have current events going on this podcast, different events on how things affect Christianity and how things affect the church. And how things affect camp. So we're going to be touching on all of those. Chris can talk a little bit more about those, but we're also going to be doing FAQs, and Chris can explain all of that for you.
Cool. All right. So FAQs, maybe you're aware of what that stands for. It means frequently asked questions. And we know that people are always hearing things, reading things, thinking about things, whether it's something they directly heard about the camp, or it's something they read in the news and they wonder how it will affect the camp. And so we hear about some of those questions, or we're directly asked some of those questions, and we want people to feel comfortable coming to the board of directors, or coming to me as the camp manager, or coming to this podcast as an avenue for information to ask questions and get answers. And so if you have a question, we're going to spend some time each episode answering some of the frequently asked questions that we're receiving, so that we can make sure that the information is, it's real, it's accurate, and it's transparent. Because we don't want people to be, afraid to ask a question, or we don't want people to walk away from the answer thinking, I don't actually know if my question got answered. And so we want to do everything we can to make sure questions are getting answered in a fun, but also very relevant and accurate way. And so we're going to spend a little bit of time each episode doing camp updates, but also doing FAQs, which may not have the camp update aspect to it. So we'll definitely be bringing those to you as they come. And if you have a question, feel free to ask that on our Facebook page, on our website. There's a Contact Us page on our website. You can email us. There are email addresses for the executive committee are directly on the website page for the Contact Us. Or you can also put it in the comment section underneath this podcast. And if it's on YouTube, you can put it in the comment section there, and we will check those and bring those to the next episode and make sure we have answers for you. Before we get into what's coming up in the next episode, I would like to ask, speaking of current events, we have Halloween coming up next week, I believe, next Saturday. Not this Saturday, but next Saturday.
It's almost here.
So I wanted to ask you, Emilee, what was your favorite costume to wear as a child, as a young trick-or-treater? And what is your favorite Halloween activity?
Okay.
You can answer those in either order, but whatever you want to do.
Oh, man, that's tough. Favorite activity as a child, and even as of now at the age of 26, which might shock some of you, is...
Shocks me. I don't even know what it is yet.
Right. Dressing up as whatever I pick, because I have a costume every year. It's a tradition. And then normally going door to door and trick or treat and having my bag ready for candy, because who doesn't love free candy? Normally I have, cousins, little tiny cousins with me, so it doesn't look as weird. That sisters. Okay. So I'm not going to the door by myself. Does that make you feel better?
I'm less shocked now.
Okay. Normally I have a small child with me, so they're like the main ones, and I just look like I'm a responsible.
But you're still hoping to get candy.
Oh, I'm hoping to get candy, and I'll even take away their candy so I can have it.
Is it a tax? A tax on their trick or treat sack?
You better believe it. They wouldn't be going to the door without me. So
right.
That's one of my favorite.
See how the game is played.
That's one of my favorite traditions. Dressing, the whole Halloween. Halloween is just such a great holiday in general. You get to dress up, you get candy. There's just a lot of spooky things going on. Maybe that's Halloween movies or, I don't know. I just love it. I love it so much. My favorite costume.
I was going to say, I forgot the second question.
One year as a kid, I dressed up as, this is going to be a little surprising, but I was a big tomboy. So I dressed up as a red Power Ranger.
Are you serious right now?
Yeah.
You're stealing my story?
No.
All right, fine.
Were you going to say that?
Go right ahead. I got a clown story for you here in a minute. Go ahead.
I dressed up as
tell our listeners about you as a red Power Ranger,
The
please.
red Power Ranger was my favorite. He was the best one by far. The rest fell in line, but the red Power Ranger was by far the best one. So dressed up as the red one. It was the best Halloween I ever had. You have a story?
That sounds really, really familiar.
Did you do that too?
So no.
Oh.
Mine was a little different. So when I was a child, I wasn't even a child. This was actually pretty recently. I dressed up as a clown, but not like a scary clown or even like a hobo clown. I dressed up as a clown, but the cool part about my costume was that there was a hula hoop.
Hula hoop.
Yeah, a hula hoop.
What?
In the costume. So it gave me this like really wide hip situation going on. Not that I really need it, but and so I was bumping into stuff and people,
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
That's a really good.
That's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
Oh, that's awesome. I love it.
And then my favorite activity is really just to kind of be a homebody and watch movies.
That's awesome.
Whether it's a Halloween movie or just a movie. I like movies.
Me too.
It's one of my favorite ways to pass the time.
That's a great way.
So it's a date night frequent activity.
That's a good activity.
Yeah. Well, very good. So we're going to be talking about a lot of different things that we enjoy or different quirky things about each of us over the next several episodes. So that'll be something you'll get to experience, and you can feel free to ask us questions about different things that we like. If you're interested about something, put it in that FAQs comments, and we'll go from there. But let's talk a little bit about the next episode. So this is the first introductory episode, and so it won't be as long. This episode will not be as long as what other episodes will probably be. We imagine these episodes will probably be anywhere from 45 minutes maybe to an hour. Just depending on content and time. But next episode will be early November, right? And so when I bridge into, first part of November, I always think about my birthday. Because my birthday is November 6th, But
calendars.
The other thing I think about with with November is Thanksgiving.
Yep.
So we have that coming up, and so we'll talk a little bit about the traditions of Thanksgiving, what we like to do, food we like to eat. I don't know about you, but I like some Thanksgiving food, and so I'm looking forward to this holiday season for sure. And then every episode, we talked earlier about Meet the Deans, Meet the Preacher, and we talking about current events and issues. Well, it's not just going to be Emilee and I introducing you to somebody's bio. We're actually going to have a featured guest every episode to talk about these things, to talk about themselves, to talk about their camp ministry, what they care about in their own personal ministry with their church, as well as some of these current event issues. And so we have some people planned, lined up, people that have agreed, or at least we're going to get them to agree to appear on this podcast. And so should we mention who our next guest is? I guess our first guest is.
I think we should leave the viewers hanging a little bit.
Okay.
Just kind of leave it. Now they have something to come back to. If you ruin it for them, then
maybe they won't want to watch. I see what you're saying. So yeah, we'll definitely hold on to that, but know that this man that we're going to have on as our featured guest next episode is somebody here from the shore, somebody people know and love, and you'll get to know a little bit about him a little more next episode.
Let you speculate on who you think it's going to be.
Absolutely. And then if you are seeing this on YouTube, we just want to remind you to go ahead and subscribe at the bottom. That way you can be alerted anytime there is a new episode ready to be broadcast to you. And that way you can stay up to date on information and this podcast and the fun things that we're doing here. Emilee, is there anything else that I'm forgetting?
There's nothing you're forgetting, but I do want to remind everybody to please comment and let us know if you have any suggestions or just what you thought about the podcast, things that you would like us to talk about, or just give us a shout out. We'd love to read all of those. So, we are just so grateful to get to do this, to sit down and to, talk about important things that are going on with camp, and just, this is a really cool opportunity that we can kind of get camp out there and just, this is one way that we can just keep everybody aware of what's going on. So I think you nailed it.
Cool. Awesome. And if you have any suggestions on a name for the podcast, feel free to give us that too.
Let us know. We're really racking
all right.
brains.
Well, I have really enjoyed our time here this evening.
I as well.
I hope you have as well, and I hope you have as well. I hope this hasn't felt like a waste of your time, and so hopefully you'll tune in next time as well and get to be a part of this ongoing experience and adventure for this podcast. Thank you so much for joining us today, and hopefully we'll see you soon.
Have a great evening.
See ya.